Professional Development Models by Virginia Martinez. In this professional models, we're going to talk about Four Nations for Strength. Four Nations for Strength is a combination of all domains: meaning-focused learning, language-focused learning, meaning-focused input, meaning-focused output, and fluency development. They are designed to serve as a guide for teachers and reminds them that it is important to provide each student with the opportunity to learn and engage with the target language for the purpose of developing fluency. Language-focused learning is the most familiar of the strands with the students and teachers as well. It emphasizes a direct explanation and presentation of language structures, such as grammar, patterns, spellings, pronunciations, vocabulary, collocations. Nation 2012, page 178. Furthermore, Nations recognize that in direct language-focused teaching, it is a relevant element of an effective language programs. However, he also understood that it should not be the main element of teaching, meaning that even though language-focused learning is important, should not be the only part that we focus when we are teaching a language. I have a mini video with a Four Nations, which is giving us some tips and explanations of how to teach language appropriately. Let's go play it to see what he had to say.
We have a very special guest today. We have Mr. Paul Nation, Professor Paul Nation from New Zealand. So he's going to be covering vocabulary, teaching vocabulary with you guys today. Paul, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just need your camera. I'll be handing it off to Paul. Just pay attention to the chat. I will be sending out the handout link very shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Mr. Paul Nation here, who will be helping you guys with how to teach vocabulary. So I will see you guys in an hour. Enjoy the presentation, and thank you, Paul, for taking the time out to do this webinar for us.
Good. No problem. Now let's just check that everybody can see. Can you see the PowerPoint?
I will move the video a little bit just to see the part that we want you to see.
Yeah, good. Largely because of the internet, they meet up with a lot of English vocabulary through doing things on the internet. And it seems that European children who speak languages which are closely related to English actually know a lot of English vocabulary before they begin to learn English. I have a suspicion that that's the same probably throughout the whole world, and that's because of the effect of the internet on learning. We know that in Japanese, for example, about half of the high-frequency words are already used in Japanese by Japanese speakers as loan words. And even though sometimes the...
Okay, here for Nations, what he's telling us is that all language learners already know part of the vocabulary to be learned. So it's that as a teacher, we need to be able to use that in our favor and in the classroom apply for the benefit of the students. We will continue with this video, and after I finish it, I'm moving forward. For now, let's keep going with our presentation.
Resources page. So
In this part, I have some practice of pronunciations. Pronunciations have to mimicking the words to just help the students to achieve the goal and manage to pronounce the word correctly. This is very important when we are teaching a second language. By practicing pronunciations with the learners, we can help them to improve vocabulary. Take a look at the video and pay attention to how the teacher guides her student by mimicking the words for them.
Hey, all my ESL teachers, welcome. My name is Teacher Nikki, and today I want to share some tips with you for pronunciation activities. Before we jump into this, I want to talk about recognizing patterns in students' pronunciation. Oftentimes, they will make the same mistakes over and over. So really make it a point to listen to your students and see which mistakes are coming up over and over. And usually people make similar mistakes. So when they speak the same first native language. So notice those patterns and then create your activities based off of those patterns. First activity is do a reading passage that has at least 3 paragraphs and chunk them up. With the first paragraph, all of 3 paragraphs are going to have those pronunciation errors in them, whatever they're struggling with. So one example is I was working with a student who kept omitting endings such as ed, s, ing. So the first paragraph, I highlighted all of the endings that he missed, and then we went through together and he repeated after me how to say it correctly. Then the second paragraph, he read it, I highlighted the words, but I asked him, I said, hey, can you pronounce this correctly? He did it really well. Third paragraph, he started self-correcting. So that's the goal, and you should let the student know that. You can tell them ahead of time, okay, first, I'm going to help you. Second, let's see if you can do it on your own. And then third, see if you can start to correct yourself before I even show you where your mistake is. Okay, another activity you can do is drills. So you could choose a list of maybe 10 words. I wouldn't go too big, maybe 5 to 10 words, and practice the similar pronunciation pattern. And you could have them definitely provide visuals. It's always good to know what the words mean and to see the spelling, connect that pronunciation with the spelling of the word, and have them say the word after you over and over. And it could just be for a minute. It doesn't even have to be that long, but you could do this as a warm-up at the beginning of each class or as an exit slip at the end of each class, whatever works for you. But you do want to make it a pattern, and then after you do those drills, see if the students can start to do it independently, or see if they can, if you can just give them a little bit of support and then gradually let them lead them up to doing it independently. The third activity is listening and mimicking. Listening and mimicking is just, they could be listening to anything really. It could be music, it could be audio from a movie or TV show, it could be you. And they just have to repeat what you say correctly or what the person is saying correctly. And that could be fun just because you can listen to so many different things and align it to whatever their interests are. The fourth and final activity is to do writing and speaking. The reason writing is important is because they're connecting that visual with the pronunciation. And literacy, when you're learning a language, is important to incorporate all aspects of the language, not just listening and speaking, but reading and writing too. A lot of people, our students especially, just want to focus on the speaking or just want to focus on the pronunciation, but they all go together and play off of each other. So if you can improve that writing, it's going to help you with the pronunciation, because when you write it, then you're going to be able to read it. So it's just like when you ask someone, hey, how do you spell your name? You know that off the top of your head. It's like you're on autopilot. So if you could do that with the words that they're struggling with, then it's going to eventually become kind of like ingrained in them, and it won't be a struggle anymore. All right, so those are all the tips that I have for pronunciation activities. Let me know in the comments what you do. Thanks so much for staying in, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, because
As you can hear, it's exactly what Paul Nation said. When you're teaching a language, it's important to focus on all 4 aspects of the language, not just in 1 or 2. It's equally important reading and writing as it is a pronunciation and listening. According to Paul Nation, it's only 25% in learning language. They go into language focused learning. Then we're dividing in 3 more quarterly portions. Meaning focused input is another 25%. Meaning focused output is 25%, and fluency development, which is the end goal, is the other 25%. So learning a language is divided in 4 different domains. Language learning, input, output, and fluency. Meaning focused input. Meaning focused input is the second input out of the 4 domains. It places emphasis on language input specific to the student ability to reading and listening. Nation stated that this is largely incidental learning because the learner's attention should be focused on comprehending what is being read or listening. In order to reach the desired goal, the student should listen and read large amounts of content in their target language, and at the level of understanding with vocabulary. It will limit new structures. For example, listening to a familiar podcast, music, TV programs will becoming easier to follow and comprehend as long as they enjoy what they are doing. The idea is that if the students are interested in the topic or content, their understanding will becoming easier. They will gain some knowledge through background knowledge and content clues. This will make for a large quantity of input. They learning by repeating actions, but they also learning by relating information, relating what they read to what they already know. This is a couple of activities can do in the classroom, which is listen to music, can be listening to podcasts, can be listening to music just in the target language. And audiobooks is a good exercise, a good activity, and help with the vocabulary acquisition. Reading activities can be created in PowerPoint. PowerPoint are good to create reading activities. They are visuals, they are colorful, and they call attention. So when you create a reading activities and using an interactive PowerPoint, it helps the student visualize the learning and engage in the learning. Let's see the video to see how you can create those reading activities in the PowerPoint.
Hello guys, welcome back. And today I'm going to show you how to create a reading worksheet in PowerPoint. But before we start, make sure to go to my Facebook page and follow me there. And of course, subscribe to my channel and to like this video. So as you can see, I've already created a reading worksheet using the tools PowerPoint provides. The only thing I have taken is a background, which is the water in the background, and the picture of the fisherman. That came from Google, but everything else was constructed using what PowerPoint has to offer. So let's get started. To do so, we just need to go to File, New, Blank Presentation, and like always, we need to change the orientation of the page so it's an A4 piece of paper. So we need to go to Design, Slide Size, Custom Slide Size, make sure that's A4, and we click Portrait and click OK. Then make sure you click Ensure Fit, and then we can get rid of these text boxes as well. The next step is to insert that background I showed you earlier. So to do that, I'm going to go to Insert, Pictures, this device, because I'm taking it off my device, as in my computer, and I'm going to go to where it is, click that, and then click Insert. Now, there's two things here that you can do. Sometimes in the updated PowerPoint, it will give you design ideas here, and if you click this option here, it just puts it across your page for you. Now, not all PowerPoint programs do this, so if it doesn't, don't worry. Just drag it until it snaps into place on your page. Once you've got your background sorted, we can insert that fisherman we saw earlier. So we just go to Insert, Pictures, this device, because I've saved it to my computer. Then I go to where I saved it to, click it once, then click Insert, and there he is. I might make him a little bit smaller so he doesn't take up too much room on my page. I'm just going to snap him in the corner like that. I can show you now. And also, guys, I'm going to add a shadow behind him to make him stand out a little bit more. To do that, click him once, go to Picture Format, go to Picture Effects, Shadow, and I'm going to click on this outer one here. And what it does, guys, it just brings him out a little bit. You can see the shadow coming around here. Alright, our next step is to insert our header or our title. So go to Insert, Text Box, drag a text box over like that. And this time I'm going to call it The Fisherman. I'm going to press Ctrl A to highlight the entire word. And then I'm going to press this align button, which is center. And I'm going to change it to the font I want, which is called Metro Beardy. I'm going to pop that in the description below for you guys. Click that once, and I'm just going to adjust the size until I'm happy with it. That's perfect. Whilst I'm here, I'm then going to Shape Format. I'm going to click on the text color I want, which is this nice green here. And I'm going to go to Text Outline and give it a black stroke around it. Last thing is go to my Text Effects, Shadow, and then Outer Shadow. And then one last thing I should say.
So you can see, create a reading activity with PowerPoint can be engaging and it can be a really visual.
Hello guys.
Focus output or meaning focus output is a telestrand. It's a complete the opposite of the input. And the meaning focus on input, the main focus or the meaning focus on output is the conversational part. How much a student can produce and how fast. In this strand, a student had to demonstrate what they had learned. It required for a student to produce vocabulary, use the language in a productive way, use complex structures and words that they must already know or learned from the reading with the purpose of being understood by the reader or the person who they speak with. The most common exercise can vary from elaborated and present a speech, telling a story, give directions, write a journal, take notes, write an email or letter. These strands ensure the learning process and the students achieve in the target language. Activities that you can do in class to foster writing. Write a diary or journal, create or tell a story. A schedule is a good activity for class. It just encourages students to use their imagination. How to teach reading effective, skimming and scanning. Here you have some examples of how to teach reading effectively and help a student to achieve their goals. Meaning-focused output is all about learners to demonstrate what they have learned. With these strategies, we can obtain effective results. Students read and write questions, while the teacher listens and only intervenes when the vocabulary interferes with the understanding or to clarify if it's needed. Let's watch the video and see how can we teach reading in a more effective way.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education. In this presentation, we'll take a look at some of the most popular and effective examples of classroom reading activities. Let's take a look at our first example, which is reciprocal teaching. Students are broken down into smaller groups, and students within each group get to take on the role as the teacher. Students must summarize, clarify, ask questions. A round-robin classroom reading, the teacher calls on a student, that student reads a paragraph or two, then that student calls on another random student. After reading a piece of material or text, an effective class activity is to simply ask questions on what was just read and follow up with more specific probing questions that require the students to analyze and make inferences. A vocabulary collection is an activity where students must write down, quote, collect words that they hear in real life that they aren't really sure the meaning. Students must then define those words and share them with the class each week. One student has a card with a lowercase f and the other student has a card with the uppercase f. The students must roam the room and find each other to find their match. Then the teacher can reshuffle and they have to find each other. Scan and race is an activity to improve reading fluency. Teachers provide the class with a piece of text, present the class a question, and have them race to find the answer. Outlining is a note-taking strategy but can also be assigned as a class activity. Assign the students some reading material and ask them to create an outline. Students learn to identify main ideas and supporting details. Brainstorming is a way to activate prior knowledge and get students engaged in the reading. Say the class is about to read a story on Babe Ruth. Brainstorm with the class everything they already know about baseball. Paired reading is a research-based fluency strategy. Students read aloud to each other at the same time in unison until the less fluent reader becomes skilled enough to read alone. The 3-2-1 activity is a post-reading activity where students must write down 3 things they learned, 2 interesting things, and 1 question. Again, this is after having read something. Teachers can have their students create storyboards after a short story or a chapter in a book. Students can create and sketch out visual shots and add details and words just like a director. A 1-word splash. First have the students read an entire passage or a piece of text, and then you ask the students to write down a single word that summarizes the entire material. Another activity is to have students participate in a Socratic style seminar. Students are given some reading material and then they must ask pertinent questions, articulate their thoughts, and critically respond to the question. The gallery walk is a secondary classroom activity. Students walk in groups around the room and respond to questions and share ideas on poster paper. Reading sing-alongs are used in the younger grades. Teachers can find many sing-alongs on YouTube or they can create their own. They help students read and make learning fun through music. As a post-reading activity, hand your students some blank graphic organizers to fill in. They can create their own word maps or mind maps with vocabulary words in the middle. The language experience approach allows the students to foster their creativity through their personal life experiences and storytelling. The great thing here is that teachers also get to know their students. Lastly, add different types of media to the classroom. If the class just read a book on The Great Gatsby, show them a movie and then have a discussion and an interpretation. Anyway, right now I want to say thank you for your time. Check the description for resources for reading teachers. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Please like and share the video, and I'll see you again.
So you can see there's many activities you can utilize to teach reading. The important part is just to engage the student. Give you something to do. Give you something to think about. Something that it makes them use those words that they're learning day by day.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education. In this
The last of the four strengths is fluency development. The last strength of acquiring balance in the language programs is the development of fluency. It is the most ignored and overlooked out of all four strands. Nations suggested that these strands need more consideration and time as the other three strands. Fluency is the ability to receive and produce language at a reasonable rate. Nation 2012, page 168. Fluency refers to all four domains or skills needed to become fluent in a target language: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Activities that can be utilized to achieve this goal include free writing, listening to easy stories, development, repeat reading and retelling, scanning and skimming the text. Nations divide these types of activities to acquiring a second language in two groups: constant reading, the person that like to read just to read; intensive reading that will apply to those people; and those extensive reading for the more traditional students, those students that just read because they had to. Strategies to encourage a student to speak. Teachers should be listening carefully to the students while taking notes. When teachers take a note, it can help the students to recognize where they make a mistake. When she gives them the note and examples to what she has listened. Teachers should give the student control of the conversations in a cooperative way. This will help foster vocabulary while the students gain fluency and confidence at the same time. Let's watch my last video.
In cooperative learning, the teacher puts students in small groups to do an activity together. The students take the lead in doing the activity. The teacher only provides guidance as needed. The teacher does not put the same students together for each activity, but changes the groupings. That way, students can learn from a variety of partners. So in cooperative learning, the teacher puts students in groups, lets them take the lead in doing the activity, and changes the groupings for different activities. This method helps students learn about sharing, getting along with others, and working together.
As you can see, grouping the students is beneficial, but it's encouraging to just switch them around so they can get to know everybody in the classroom. As the Reading Pollination book, I can make a connection between Nation's four strands and the Bloom taxonomy approach. The Bloom taxonomy principles are knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. It uses six cognitive behavioral approach for instructional learning. Pollination follows the same approach to teach language effectively. This instructional video will help you to see the correlation between both approaches. I took the instructional video from YouTube as I did with the other ones. I will share this presentation with everybody at the end of this training. And you can see 4 nations with taxonomies have the same exact approach on becoming about teaching a language. In conclusion, to have balance in a language course, this needs to be equitable and constructed. For the language learning, equal time should be dedicated to all 4 domains. Context clues, background knowledge, and familiar words facilitate learning. The learners are familiar with more of the vocabulary, knowing or recognizing most of the words. Thank you.